Hello and welcome live from New Delhi. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Coming up in the next hour, the US Supreme Court rules that Donald Trump is partially immune for his actions when he was in office in the White House, directs the trial court in his alleged bid to overturn the 2020 presidential race result to determine the immunity of his actions in that case. President Emmanuel Macron and French leaders across the political divide appeal for tactical voting in the Sunday runoff to block Marine Le Pen's far-right party from winning an unprecedented clear majority. India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi said to reply to the discussion on the motion of thanks to the President's address on Tuesday. Monday saw him making a rare intervention in Parliament.
और संविधान ने मुझे सिखाया है कि मुझे विपक्ष के नेता को गंभीरता से लेना चाहिए.
And India's new laws dealing with all criminal offences is implemented. Changed provisions aim to overhaul India's criminal justice system apart from replacing colonial era vestiges. Well, the US Supreme Court has found that Donald Trump cannot be prosecuted for official actions taken as president, but can for private acts, in a landmark ruling recognizing for the first time any former presidential immunity from prosecution. The justice, in a 6-3 ruling written by Chief Justice John Roberts, threw out a lower court's decision rejecting Trump's claim of immunity from criminal charges involving his efforts to undo his 2020 election loss to Joe Biden. The court's 6 conservative justices were in the majority and its 3 liberal justices dissented. Let's now get you more on this with DD India's Benji Haya joining us from Washington, D.C. Well, good evening to you from Delhi. Ross, Benji, I beg your pardon. The top US court has said that Trump has partial immunity, but it has also laid the tracks of what the trial court needs to do in the case where he stands accused of trying to overturn the 2020 presidential election outcome. Now, could you break down what all has happened and what does it mean?
Yes, it was a rather boisterous atmosphere outside the Supreme Court when this long-awaiting ruling finally landed this morning. But then it was also met with, frankly, a bit of confusion. The top line is that the court holds that a former president, which of course includes Donald Trump, has absolute immunity for core constitutional powers. That's things like appointing ambassadors to foreign governments and foreign countries. It then says that the court has, a former president, I should say, has a presumption of immunity for official acts, but no immunity for unofficial acts. Now, it is perhaps not clear yet what constitutes an official versus an unofficial act. Would an official act, for example, include Donald Trump, then president, telling his then vice president, Mike Pence, not to certify the results of the 2020 election, which is a key tenet of the prosecution's case against the former president? In all, justices on the Supreme Court are leaving it to lower courts to decide and to make that distinction. And what that does in practice is effectively kick the can down the road, push, delay, postpone a potential trial, yet another criminal trial against Donald Trump, which was looking into those alleged efforts to subvert democracy. Now, that has cued outrage from some of the liberal justices on the bench. They say that this decision reshapes the institution of the presidency, makes a mockery of the principle that no man is above the law. While that man, Donald Trump, is elated. He calls this a big win for the Constitution and democracy, and he will be breathing a huge sigh of relief because ultimately he is unlikely to face trial in this case before Americans go to the polls on November 5th.
And what is the Joe Biden camp saying? What are the Democrats saying about this?
Well, there's been no official comment from the White House yet. In fact, Joe Biden has not yet returned properly to the White House, and his special counsel, which is separate from the administration that has been overseeing this case, again, has not yet commented. But they are likely to be disappointed with this outcome, as I think we all wait further clarity as to what it could mean. The bottom line for the prosecution, for the investigation into Donald Trump, is they will need to do a lot more to prove that the former president should not be immune from these acts. Really lay out why these are not necessarily unofficial acts and therefore he should be prosecuted. There is also, of course, an array of other criminal trials that Donald Trump may face before the election or may face afterwards, either as a citizen or as a president, and he still has that sentencing on July 11th connected to that criminal conviction in the hush money trial that took place in New York. None of these, I should stress, stop him constitutionally for running for office, from potentially winning the White House again, and polls indicate that his strongest of supporters are not deterred nor put off by those criminal trials or the sort of rulings that have been coming from justices on the Supreme Court.
And how will this colour the race going ahead? Do you feel that this will be something that will be focused upon a lot? Because right now, as you said, there's nothing that legally stands in his way up till the November elections as far as the contest itself is concerned. But in terms of public opinion, will this be a plus or a minus?
Well, plainly, it helps open up that path for Donald Trump. It moves away another potential obstruction, and on the premise that he wins, he could order his Department of Justice to dismiss this case and others that are still outstanding. So that'll be seen as a victory for Donald Trump, a huge sigh of relief for his supporters. In terms of how it plays generally in the election, well, Democrats will continue to insist, I'm sure, that this is a president, the first to have been criminally convicted, multiple times indicted, twice impeached, including for the very acts that are at the centre of this trial that he may face either before or after the election. Of course, those actions, those attempts allegedly to overturn the election, culminating in that deadly riot on January 6, 2021 at the US Capitol, just across from actually where I'm standing. And there will be no there'll be continued attempts, I should say, I'm sure, from Donald Trump's political opponents to highlight that he remains responsible for those actions and he should be held to account for them. But the reality is that this Supreme Court behind me, despite being a separate entity, a separate institution from government, is politically weighted. It is leaning in favour of Donald Trump on a number of cases. 3 of the justices on the bench were appointed by him. It has a conservative lean, and therefore there is going to be an element of preference potentially when it comes to this case and others for the former president.
And Benji, if I let you go, before I let you go, is there any way where the time to determine whether his particular actions in trying to block Joe Biden's coming into the White House, the entire process, could it be accelerated somehow, or will it take a lot of time, much beyond November?
Well, prosecution will be hoping that a trial can still go ahead, but it first has to go through a separate process of the lower courts, making that distinction between official versus unofficial acts, as we were exploring before. There is still another outstanding criminal trial that Donald Trump may face in the state of Georgia, again related to those alleged attempts to overturn the election outcome in that specific state. But like the other criminal trial for his alleged mishandling of classified documents in Florida, that has been indefinitely delayed and so may very well not happen either. It could be the case that Donald Trump goes into that election on November 5th, yes, with that criminal conviction from New York, but still with these other criminal trials still yet to be resolved.
All right. Well, thanks a lot, Benji. It seems that for now, Donald Trump can breathe easy on this account at least. We'll have to wait and see what the contest really holds for him, and the whole thing about whether Joe Biden himself should still stay in the race, that remains an open question. Biden himself, his family also backing him, saying that he will because he believes he can win. Thanks. Now, the first inaugural session of India's parliament is taking place in the national capital, Delhi. The motion of thanks for the presidential address is being debated in both houses of parliament. While Prime Minister Modi is likely to reply on the motion of thanks in the Lok Sabha, which is the lower house, on Tuesday, he will reply in the Raj Sabha on Wednesday. Here's more by DD India's Dibendu Mondal.
The Parliament convened at 11 a.m. with obituary to the departed members of the House. The Speaker of the Lok Sabha, along with members, also paid tributes to President Ibrahim Raisi of Iran, who lost his life in an unfortunate helicopter crash. The motion of thanks on the presidential address was moved by former Union Minister and senior BJP leader Anurag Singh Thakur in the Lok Sabha. He spoke about the achievements of the Modi government over the last 10 years. He also spoke about the unprecedented growth of the Indian economy under the leadership of Prime Minister Narendra Modi.
देश का ये चुनाव ऐतिहासिक जनादेश हमारे यशस्वी प्रधानमंत्री श्री नरेंद्र मोदी जी के पिछले 10 वर्षों के सेवा, सुशासन और गरीब कल्याण के महानुष्ठान पर मोहर है। देश को जरूरत थी एक स्थिर और निरंतर सरकार की, और देश ने एक स्थिर, निरंतर और प्रभावी सरकार को फिर चुना है और मोदी जी को फिर देश का प्रधानमंत्री चुना है।
The motion was seconded by BJP leader and MP from New Delhi constituency Pasuri Swaraj. The opposition, however, created chaos during the initial proceedings of the Lok Sabha, demanding a separate discussion on the NEET paper leak issue. From the government's side, Defence Minister Rajnath Singh assured the opposition members that the government is ready to debate the issue after the motion of thanks on the presidential address is passed as per the traditions of the parliament.
जब कभी भी राष्ट्रपति जी के अभिभाषण पर चर्चा होती है तो आज तक कभी ऐसा नहीं हुआ है, क्योंकि अपने लंबे संसदीय जीवन में जो मैंने देखा है उस आधार पर मैं कह सकता हूं कि अन्य किसी विषय पर उस समय चर्चा हुई हो। इसलिए मैं अपने सभी सम्मानित विपक्ष के सदस्यों से भी आग्रह करना चाहता हूं, आप जिस विषय पर चर्चा करना चाहते हो आप चर्चा करें, लेकिन एक बार राष्ट्रपति से संबंधित जो धन्यवाद प्रस्ताव है उसको संसद में पारित करने के बाद ही करें। यह मेरा सभी से विनम्र अनुरोध है।
The leader of the opposition, Rahul Gandhi, made a number of allegations against the government. He was even objected by the speaker, and then came a response from PM himself.
लोकतंत्र ने और संविधान ने मुझे सिखाया है कि मुझे विपक्ष के नेता को गंभीरता से लेना चाहिए।
The Prime Minister's reply will lay bare the facts put forward by the opposition leaders in both the houses of Parliament. All eyes on the Prime Minister's speech in the lower house tomorrow. This is Dibendu Mondal from New Delhi for DD India.
And the ruling BJP has criticized the statement given by Leader of Opposition in the Lok Sabha and Congress MP Rahul Gandhi. Indian Minister for Information and Broadcasting Ashwini Vaishnav said that the Leader of Opposition is a responsible position, but Rahul Gandhi made a very irresponsible statement in Parliament on Monday.
लीडर ऑफ ऑपोजिशन एक बहुत ही जिम्मेवारी का पद होता है। हमारी संसदीय व्यवस्था में राहुल जी ने पहली बार कोई जिम्मेदारी संभाली है। हमेशा ज़िंदगी में पावर एंजॉय करना लेकिन जिम्मेदारी नहीं रखना, लेकिन पहली बार जिम्मेदारी संभालने के बावजूद आज उन्होंने अति गैर जिम्मेवाराना स्टेटमेंट्स दिए हैं।
And still to come on DD India News are UK's Labour Party leader Keir Starmer seeks a vote for change in the final days of campaigning. Fighting rages on in Ukraine. Kyiv soldiers say Russian troops have increased the intensity of their attacks. And a Chinese space rocket crashes in flames after accidental launch during a ground test.
Complex issues, hidden agendas, twists and turns, strategic games. We think all dots are linked. We just need to connect them. Join me every week as I connect the dots to unravel hidden designs in statecraft, mysteries, and decode issues that matter to you. Watch Connecting the Dots with me at these times on DD India.
Welcome back. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, Marine Le Pen's far-right National Rally or RN party scored historic gains to win the first round of France's parliamentary election on Sunday. But the final result will depend on days of horse trading and strategizing before Sunday's runoff. More details in the next report.
France is on the cusp of a political seismic shift as the far-right National Rally, led by Marine Le Pen, emerges victorious in the first round of the legislative elections to choose all 577 members of the 17th National Assembly of the 5th French Republic. With a staggering 33% of the vote, the anti-immigration party has made significant strides, with President Emmanuel Macron's formation, Ensemble, coming in only third at about 20% votes, behind the left-wing New Popular Front, an alliance of 25 left political formations with 28% votes. A total of 76 candidates were elected to France's parliament in the first round of the vote, of which 39 represented National Rally, 32 were from New Popular Front, and 2 from Macron's alliance. If no candidate reaches 50% in the first round, the top 2 contenders automatically qualify for the second round, as well as all those with 12.5% of registered voters. In the second round of the voting on July 7th, whoever wins the most votes takes the constituency. For an absolute majority, a party needs 289.
J'ai besoin d'une majorité absolue.
I have said it. To have the project that I am carrying out for the country voted on, I need an absolute majority. So either the French grant me this absolute majority or they will take the risk of seeing the New Popular Front.
Le Pen has sought to woo voters upset with Macron, the high cost of living and growing concerns over immigration. Bartella wants to ban French dual nationals from sensitive strategic posts, calling them half-nationals. There is focus on cutting sales tax on energy and a list of 100 essential goods and repealing the Macron pension reforms in a matter of months. Now let's take a look at Marine Le Pen's political journey. She joined the party in 1986, which was then known as National Front. Over the years, Le Pen has been a consistent contender in French presidential elections. She reached the second round in both 2017 and 2022 presidential elections, where she faced off against Macron. National Rally's chances of winning power next week will depend on the political deal-makings made by its rivals over the coming days. If Macron's party loses in the second round, then National Rally wins. Then the question is whether National Rally can win an absolute majority of 289 seats or a relative majority similar to that held since 2022 by the Macron camp. President Macron has pledged to see out the remainder of his final presidential term, which runs until 2027. Victory for National Rally now could open the door to almost 3 years of cohabitation or power sharing, when the president of one party heads the state and another party runs the government. It's happened before, with domestic policy in the hands of the Prime Minister and foreign and defense policy in the hands of the President. The next few days will be crucial in determining the outcome of this pivotal election, which has seen a record high turnout of 66.7%, the highest since 1997. Nupur Praveen's report for DD India.
And let's get you more on this with DD India's Ross Cullen joining us from the French capital, Paris. Now, Ross, it seems like France is having a political Olympics of its own before spokespersons descend on Paris from all over the world for the Games. Now, is it a complete scramble to somehow prevent the far right from getting unprecedented majority in the National Assembly in the Sunday runoff, and no triangulaires? Is that really the strategy?
Well, Emmanuel Macron, the French president, held a crisis meeting earlier today at the Élysée Palace here in the French capital with senior ministers to try to work out this scramble strategy now to how to get different politicians from different parties to coalesce around this idea that we should fight for a greater goal, even though we have political divisions among us. That greater goal, as far as Emmanuel Macron, would be to stop the National Rally from gaining an absolute majority. They are very likely to gain that relative majority, be the biggest party in the National Assembly come July the 8th, but the attempt by the left and the centre and Macron is to see if they can all agree on a strategy to stop the far right from gaining the 289 seats that they need to form a majority government and implement their programme, which Jordan Bardella says they would do so relentlessly if they were elected into a majority position. He would be the Prime Minister, the party leader. He's 28, would be France's youngest ever Prime Minister, and Marine Le Pen will be the figurehead there, trying to lay the groundwork during this time of National Rally government for her presidential bid that's very likely to happen in 2027. However, if the National Rally do not get a majority, we could be in for more legislative gridlock. As you mentioned in the introduction in the report we just saw, since 2022 we've had that situation in place already. Emmanuel Macron's party, the largest in Parliament, does not have a majority, having to force things through, having to work with other parties, having to water down their proposals to make them more amenable to the opposition politicians. It really does mean that it clogs up a lot of the process of power to try to work out how to move pieces of legislation forward. That's something the National Rally do not want to do. They do not want to have to work around coalitions and face no confidence votes and not have an absolute majority. So Marine Le Pen has said nothing is won yet. All her forces and campaigners must be mobilised throughout this week to try to ensure as many votes as possible for her populist project.
Mm-hmm. And what is being done to ensure that by Marine Le Pen and her party? Are they completely trying to give the impression that all those things that were a little unpalatable in the past as far as their party is concerned, they will not press forward on those agendas, and they will stick to what they've been doing throughout the campaign, as well as to addressing people's issues mostly related with the cost of living?
Well, Gautam, there's certainly been an attempt at detoxification by Marine Le Pen. As you mentioned in the report, when she joined the party, founded by her father, the National Front, was what it was known as, and she changed that name to the National Rally. They have faced allegations in the past of Islamophobia, anti-Semitism, racism, and they've tried to assure that they are well away from those allegations, and they are selecting a different type of mainstream candidate who can appeal to a broad section of the electorate, and they are not no more the anti-Semitic, Islamophobic, racist party that they were accused of being in the past. No doubt about it.
Anti-EU as well, I think.
Political force at the moment. They have won the first round of the election, and they are likely to win the second round of the election. Now, in terms of their policies, we will see such things as slashing $2 billion off how much France pays to the EU. They've said they'll bring that in. They've said they will repeal President Macron's contentious pension reforms that came into effect in September last year. The headline change there was raising the retirement age from 62 to 64. The National Rally say it will go back to 62 under us. They previously wanted to bring it back to 60. That is the position of the left wing and the far left. They do want to repeal President Macron's pension reforms all the way back to the age of 60. Some of the other things the National Rally want to do, they are ambivalent about climate change, ambivalent about the need to build wind farms all over France, something that Emmanuel Macron's government have been very excited to do, signing off on these projects to build offshore wind farms, onshore wind farms. That is something that will slow down certainly the deceleration of that process under the National Rally. They did also want to exonerate and exempt all under 30s from paying any income tax. However, the financial implications of that huge section of the working population suddenly not paying any tax, well, they've watered that down, and in fact they've just paused it off the table at the moment. So there are some policies they are going to continue to pursue, such as beefing up security on France's borders, trying to tighten up the borders and clamp down on legal migration, as well as, of course, illegal immigration. But there are some policies, Gautam, that they have put on pause for now, perhaps to try to make the party as a whole more acceptable accessible to the public.
Let's see how much appealing can they make themselves and really shift some vote their way in the runoff. I think it will be a key factor in an election which in its first round has seen the highest turnout in 40 years. Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment, Ross. Now, the United Kingdom will also be holding its national elections on Thursday, with opinion polls suggesting that Prime Minister Rishi Sunak's Conservative Party is losing to the Labour Party and is being ousted from power after 14 years. Political parties have been doing all they can to ensure that they garner the maximum support among voters in the final days of campaigning. Well, let's now bring in DD India's Ollie Barrett from London as well for more on the UK elections. Good evening to you, Ollie. The snap election in France seems to have snapped back at Macron. Now, is it a foregone conclusion that Rishi Sunak too would suffer the same fate come the 4th of July after having called the elections earlier than was required?
It looks very much like that. All of the polling that we've had since Rishi Sunak announced the date of the election has suggested that Labour are ahead by a wide margin and could be heading for a significant majority in the House of Commons. Now, it's not completely impossible that something could change between now and Thursday, or indeed that perhaps the polling is wrong, but it looks very unlikely at this point. And Rishi Sunak today having to insist on the campaign trail that he hasn't given up yet. He says he's still fighting to win the election on Thursday, but it does look very, very difficult indeed for him now. When Rishi Sunak called this snap election, he knew he was behind in the polls anyway. What he was hoping was that over the course of the campaign that he could get out there, make his case to the British people on behalf of himself and also the Conservative Party, and try and turn that polling gap around. Well, it just doesn't seem to have happened for him. And so, as I say, unless something hugely unexpected happens over the next 48 hours, it does look very much like the Labour Party are going to return to power, are going to take Downing Street for the first time in 14 years.
Yes, and Labour is leading the Conservatives by at least 20 points in most opinion polls. Now, has Rishi Sunak been indicating through his speeches and statements that he's essentially fighting for second place now, because there are people snapping at the heels of the Conservatives there as well, some urging even to people that they should take the plunge while bungee jumping themselves?
It's interesting because while on the one hand Rishi Sunak is saying he hasn't given up, you can tell in some of the comments that he and senior Conservatives have been making on the campaign trail that they really understand that they are likely to come second in this particular race. We've heard them warning, for example, against the dangers of a large Labour majority, saying that it would give the Labour Party a blank cheque to do whatever it wanted, whatever Keir Starmer wanted in number 10 Downing Street. And those warnings make it very clear that the Conservatives know the direction of travel here when it comes to the race. The other reason we know that the Conservatives are potentially looking at a very heavy defeat, we can tell from some of the strategy when it comes to the seats that they are particularly targeting up and down the country. It has looked over the course of the election campaign as if Conservatives have been diverting resources into some seats which you would normally consider very, very safe indeed for the Conservatives. They are very worried about losing some constituencies which have previously had large Conservative majorities. So that gives you a sense as well of how badly the Conservatives fear doing. When it comes to the size of the Labour majority, it could well be, according to the polls, over 100, perhaps even as high as 200 majority in the House of Commons, according to some polling, which would be fairly extraordinary if we did end up in that situation. But as I say, the Prime Minister insists he's fighting on while making it pretty clear in the things he's saying, but also the things he's doing on this campaign trail, that the Conservatives know that they are likely to be defeated and potentially heavily on Thursday.
Well, I guess they believe that it's not over till it's over. We'll have to wait and see what sort of an outcome does the 4th of July bring forth. Thanks a lot for joining us for the moment, Ollie Barrett. Still to come on DD India News Hour, we'll be speaking with our expert guest on India's new criminal laws and what would they mean for the nation's criminal justice system and its people. And another batch of Yatris have departed from Panta Chowk base camp for Amarnath Shrine in India amid tight security.
We just don't bring you the news as it unfolds. We get to the heart of the matter.
We don't just present facts, we demystify complex social, political and economic events.
We break stories that shape the world's present and future because you deserve the truth.
I am Tanvi Taneja from New Delhi.
I'm Ollie Barrett from London.
I'm Nick Harper from Washington, D.C.
Join us on DD India Global Monday to Friday at these times.
Welcome back. You're watching DD News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, India has brought the overhauling of its criminal justice system in force on Monday. 2 new laws replacing the old British colonial era codes for crimes, procedures and evidence have been implemented from the 1st of July. The aim is faster trials, mandatory forensics and a more victim-friendly system with an extensively enhanced use of digital technology.
77 years after independence, the 1st of July 2024 saw India putting another colonial vestige behind itself. 3 old criminal codes of the British era gave way to implementation of just as many new laws. The Bharatiya Nyay Sanhita or BNS, the Bharatiya Nagrik Suraksha Sanhita or BNSS and the Bharatiya Sakshya Adhiniyam or BSA. India's Home Minister Amit Shah explained what this means to a nation which has not only shrugged off the colonial yoke years ago, but is now on the fast track of progress.
दंड की जगह न्याय लेगा, देरी की जगह स्पीडी ट्रायल और स्पीडी जस्टिस मिलेगा और पहले सिर्फ पुलिस के अधिकारों की रक्षा की गई थी, अब पीड़ितों के अधिकारों की रक्षा और जो कंप्लेनेंट है इसके भी अधिकारों की रक्षा करने का काम होगा.
The new laws dealing with all crimes have not only knocked off over 150 outmoded, unnecessary and even controversial provisions such as sedition, but also ushered in revolutionary changes which will not only streamline policing but also benefit people, especially women and children.
गैंग रैप के लिए अब 20 साल की सजा या तो कारावास, आजीवन कारावास, नाबालिग के साथ बलात्कार में मौत की सजा, झूठा वादा पहचान छिपाकर शोषण करने वालों के लिए भी अलग से अपराध बनाया गया है. पहले सुप्रीम कोर्ट के जजमेंट से चलता था. पीड़िता का बयान उसके घर पर महिला अधिकारियों की उपस्थिति में और अपने परिजनों की उपस्थिति में लेने का भी प्रावधान किया है.
An overhaul of the Indian criminal justice system has been rolled out. Key features and changes include reduction of sections from 511 in IPC to 358 in BNS, 20 new offences added in BNS, compulsory minimum punishment prescribed for some crimes, community service for 6 petty offences, fine has been increased in case of some offences, punishment has been increased in case of some other offences. BNS consolidates offences against women and children in a single chapter. 177 sections have been replaced, 9 new sections have been added and 14 repealed. The BNSS enhances the use of technology in investigation. FIR processes and victim protection have been streamlined, including witness protection. 0 FIR can be filed at any police station for any crime committed anywhere else. EFIR provision has also been introduced. Besides these revolutionary changes, many new features have been introduced to speed up delivery of justice using technology and increase accountability and transparency of the police forces.
Odisha police is prepared to implement the new criminal laws. We have made all arrangements. We have trained all investigating officers of the state police on the new criminal law, both in offline and online mode. We have trained the master trainers who are training at the different districts, and we have completed the training of all investigating officers.
But the real test of the new criminal laws will be in their implementation. There will likely be some wrinkles which will need to be ironed out in a just and timely manner to derive the full benefit of a long pending transformation. Gautam Roy's report for DD India.
Now, moving on, the Russia-Ukraine conflict remains unresolved. Ukraine's border guards dismissed claims from Belarus about reinforcing troops on their mutual border. They described these reports as an information operation backed by Moscow. Kyiv soldiers say Russian troops have increased the intensity of their attacks. The next report tells us more.
Russia-Ukraine conflict is far from over. Ukraine's border guards dismissed claims from Belarus that it was reinforcing troops on their mutual border, describing the reports as an information operation from Minsk with Moscow's support. Belarus, a close Russian ally that has provided support for Moscow's 28-month full-scale war in Ukraine, said last week that Kiev was bolstering its forces along the frontier. The Kremlin said on Monday that the report was a cause of concern. Meanwhile, Ukrainian soldiers are using heavy weapons supplied by the West to push back against Russian forces in the Donbass region. The Czech RM-70 Vampire rocket system has been deployed by Ukrainian troops in frontline battles in the Donetsk region, a hotly contested area in Russia's war on Ukraine.
The only problem we have is the shortage of manpower. Ammunition and weapons, we have more than enough.
The governor of Russia's Belgorod region has said in a statement that a civilian had been killed in Ukrainian shelling of an agricultural facility. Moscow says Belgorod, which borders Ukraine's Kharkiv region, has come under regular attack from Kiev's forces since President Vladimir Putin ordered tens of thousands of troops into Ukraine in February 2022. While Russia's defense ministry said on Monday that Russia's air defense systems destroyed 36 drones that Ukraine launched at 3 regions bordering Ukraine. Bureau Report, DD India.
A Chinese space rocket accidentally launched during a test before it fell and crashed in a hilly area of the city of Gongyi in central China on the 30th of June. Beijing's Tianbing Technologies said on Sunday that the first stage of its Tianlong 3 rocket under development had detached from its launch pad during a test due to structural failure. There were no reports of casualties after an initial investigation. Back in India, a group of IAS officers of the 2022 batch, currently posted as assistant secretaries in various union ministries and departments, called on President of India, Draupadi Murmu, on Monday. Addressing the officers, the President said that the Indian Administrative Service is considered a dream career in our country. She said that lakhs of ambitious young people dream to become IAS officers. Many of them work very hard for selection in this service. She also expressed satisfaction on increasing number of women cadres in the Indian Information Service, in the Indian Administrative Service. I beg your pardon.
मुझे ये देखकर खुशी होती है कि आईएएस में महिला अधिकारियों की संख्या बढ़ रही है। ये हमारी समाज और देश के विकास का एक बहुत महत्वपूर्ण आयाम है। मुझे बताया गया है कि आपके तुरंत बाद के यानी 2023 बैच के आईएएस ऑफिसर ट्रेनीज में महिलाओं की संख्या 42% है। ये एक अत्यंत गौरवशाली कीर्तिमान है। इसमें मुझे भारत के विकास की शानदार तस्वीर दिखाई देती है।
Let's get you some more updates from around the country. India's Civil Aviation Minister Ram Mohan Naidu has inspected a facility at the Indira Gandhi International Airport in New Delhi. On Sunday, a portion of a canopy of Terminal 1 collapsed due to heavy rainfall. One person lost his life while 7 others were injured in the incident. A public protest erupted at the construction site of an underground parking facility in Maharashtra's Nagpur on Monday. Responding to the protests, Deputy Chief Minister of Maharashtra, Devendra Fadnavis, announced the suspension of the project, which had a budget of 200 crore rupees sanctioned by the state government. The fourth batch of 6,461 pilgrims of Amarnath Yatra on Monday left for twin routes of Baltar and Pahalgam from the Bhagwati Nagar base camp for the holy cave situated in India's South Kashmir. A first batch of pilgrims for the 52-day Amarnath Yatra was flagged off by Jammu and Kashmir Lieutenant Governor Manoj Sinha on the 28th of last month. On the 8th anniversary of the terror attacks in the Holy Artisan Bakery in Dhaka, Indian High Commissioner to Bangladesh Pranay Verma paid floral tributes to the victims who lost their lives in the carnage on the 1st of July 8 years ago. The terrorist attack took away 22 lives, including 9 Italians, 7 Japanese, 1 US Bangladeshi and 1 Indian national. India's Navy Chief Admiral Dinesh K. Tripathi on Monday paid a tribute to the brave hearts of the Bangladesh Armed Forces who were a part of the Liberation War of Bangladesh in Dhaka. India's Naval Chief held bilateral talks with his counterpart Admiral M. Nazmul Hassan at the Naval Headquarters. The two discussed long-standing and robust ties between the two nations for enhancing maritime cooperation, among other things. Let's now get you some other updates that are making news around the world as well. Iran will hold a runoff presidential election on the 5th of July as no candidate secured enough votes in the first round on the 28th of June. Moderate lawmaker Masood Pashekyan leads with over 10 million votes, while Saeed Jalili, a former Revolutionary Guards member, has over 9.4 million votes. Uruguayans selected their presidential candidates for the upcoming October elections on Sunday. The next president, to be decided on the 27th of October or in a November runoff, faces challenges including high homicide rates, social inequality and economic relations with China. Japan's Prime Minister Fumio Kishida has unveiled a support plan for promoting tourism in a quake-hit region in central Japan's Noto Peninsula. The popular hot spring resort was severely damaged in New Year's Day earthquake. Seven years have passed since the GST law was implemented in India on the 1st of July in 2017. This law has evolved from being merely a tax reform law to becoming a business reform law. The mindset of taxpayers has changed. Taxpayers who previously did not file their returns or file them late are now prioritizing tax payment. It's clear today that the government has brought a significant change in the thinking of taxpayers. GST has given a major boost to the Indian government's Make in India initiative by making goods and services produced in India competitive in national and international markets. Let's look at what has happened in the 7-year journey of GST in this special report.
This tax, GST, introduced in India on the 1st of July 2017, is a comprehensive indirect tax that replaced multiple state and central taxes to create a unified taxation system. Aimed at simplifying the tax structure, GST merged taxes such as VAT, service tax, excise duty and others into a single tax applicable across the country. This reform was designed to streamline the tax process, enhance compliance, reduce the tax burden on consumers, and promote economic growth by making Indian goods and services more competitive both domestically and internationally. Let's take a glance at the formation of GST. The idea of GST in India first came up during the tenure of Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee. After much struggle, the 115th constitutional amendment was made in March 2011 to implement GST.
And still to come on DD India News Hour. India Energy Storage Week 2024 begins in New Delhi from the 1st to the 5th of this month. And harsh weather in different parts of the world. Tropical storm Chris hits eastern Mexico, Hurricane Beryl battles Caribbean nations, and flood-like situation in some parts of Asia. Also, UEFA Euro 2024 round of 16 is underway for a place in the quarters. You're watching DD India News Hour. I'm Gautam Roy. Now, with a vision to bring together stakeholders of clean energy future on the same platform, India Energy Storage Week 2024 is underway in New Delhi from the 1st to the 5th of this month. DD India's Shubhendu Ghosh gets us more.
India Energy Storage Week kick-started at Yashobhumi in New Delhi on Monday. Through the week, deliberations will focus on domains of energy storage, e-mobility and green hydrogen sector. The aim is to get the entire value chain of clean energy sectors on the same platform.
So as you are aware, for India, energy transition is very, very important. We have taken our commitments for 2070 for net zero. A lot of investors are here. They are looking into what are the energy transition requirements in India, what is the manufacturing potential in India, and I think it is going to be a very good conference.
India Energy Storage Week is attracting global participation with over 30 countries, 250 regulators, policymakers, exhibitors and over 1,000 industry leaders.
There is no sector more important in the Australia-India bilateral relationship than the green energy supply sector. We have huge resources in minerals and energy that can support Make in India. And in particular, we have strong reserves of critical minerals. We're the largest producer of lithium on the planet and the second largest producer of cobalt on the planet.
Loham is India's first integrated lithium-ion company, critical material company which is into recycling, repurposing and cathode active material manufacturing company. We are the largest in India, and if you look at our stall, it's basically categorized into three pieces. One is dedicated to second life batteries, one is for materials where essentially we recycle the materials and convert it into various salts, and then third is software where we do analytics on the battery and then give the residual value to the customer.
The conference and exhibition is organized by India Energy Storage Alliance, a leading industry alliance focused on sustainable solutions. While clean energy is the future of the world, India Energy Storage Week explores the manner in which India holds the potential to become a global hub and market for energy innovations in the future. With camera person Aniket Dubey, Shubhendu Ghosh in Delhi for DD India.
Climate change has been affecting weather patterns worldwide, leading to diverse and unexpected conditions. From flash floods to wildfires, the world is experiencing an increase in extreme weather events. Take a look.
After heat wave, India now finds itself grappling with heavy monsoon rains, which have caused flash floods, damaged roads and uprooted several trees. The southwest monsoon has further advanced into northern region of the country, bringing more rain. As per India's meteorological department, the entire nation will receive above average rainfall in July after receiving 11% below average rain in June.
The forecast, the 2024 July rainfall averaged over the country as a whole is most likely to be above normal. The monthly rainfall for July is likely to be above normal, and that means more than 106% for the country as a whole.
Normal life was disrupted in some cities of the western state of Gujarat, including Ahmedabad and Surat. Heavy and widespread rains has lashed the northeastern state of Assam. Over 30 people have lost their lives in the state in this year's floods, landslides and storms.
Along with floods, another problem which is of concern in Assam is the erosion, which happens every year and takes away tons of lands, resulting in sedimentation of the river Brahmaputra.
Whereas northern states will be receiving more rainfall in next 5 days. IMD has issued red warning for state of Uttarakhand and orange warning for Delhi, Punjab, Himachal, Haryana and Uttar Pradesh. In China, continuous rainfall has triggered floods in eastern Anhui province. Torrential rainfall is expected to ease on July 3 as per China's National Meteorological Center. Moving west, Europe is bracing with mixed weather patterns. In Greece, authorities called for the evacuation of at least 8 areas around Athens as wildfires destroyed several houses and cars. Whereas in southern Switzerland, 4 were reported dead and 2 were missing after thunderstorms and melting snow caused flooding. Moving west, North America is bracing with 2 storms at the same time. Hurricane Beryl has made landfall over the Caribbean region.
Cyclone Beryl has struck the coast of Barbados, going at around 110-120 miles per hour. And as we speak, places like Grenada, St. Lucia, St. Vincent, these are the islands that have been hit severely with the gusty winds. Indian team, which has just won the Cricket World Cup, T20 Cricket World Cup, is also stuck here. And they will be taking a charter flight once the airport is open. We expect that by evening, Barbados time, the situation might clear a bit.
While at coast of eastern Mexico, tropical storm Chris has made landfall. The storm was downgraded to a tropical depression as it continues to bring heavy rainfall. Tripti Tripathi's report for DD India.
Let's now get to sports, and if you talk about sports, cricket first, Indian skipper Rohit Sharma posed with the T20 World Cup 2024 trophy on Sunday in Barbados in the captain's photo shoot. The BCCI released the pictures on social media. The Indian skipper was in the official team jersey as he posed with the trophy on a beach in Barbados. Rohit had been waiting for his chance to win the World Cup after coming agonizingly close last year during the ODI edition of the ICC event. Rohit would then mastermind India's unbeaten run all the way to the title in the T20 World Cup 2024 campaign. While India defeated South Africa by 7 runs at the Kensington Oval on Saturday, clinching the World Cup after 17 years. It was also its first ICC title in 13 years, with the last one being the ODI World Cup in 2011. And the International Cricket Council, or ICC, on Monday announced a team of the tournament for the ICC Men's T20 World Cup 2024. 12 players from a total of 4 teams made it to the team of the tournament. 6 players from the title-winning Indian squad have been named. 3 Afghanistan players, while 1 player each from Australia, West Indies and South Africa have also been included. Rohit Sharma was selected as the captain. The team is as follows: Rohit Sharma, captain as I said, Jasprit Bumrah, Suryakumar Yadav, Akshar Patel, Arshdeep Singh, Hardik Pandya, Razulullah Gurbaz, Rashid Khan, Fazal Haq Farooqi, Marcus Stoinis and Nicholas Pooran. Now, the Singapore Chess Federation has won the bid to host the FIDE World Championship Match 2024. The match will feature the defending champion Ding Deren from China and challenger Gukesh D from India. The Singapore Chess Federation will host the match between the 20th of November and the 15th of December this year. FIDE received 3 applications for hosting the World Championship match, namely India's New Delhi, Chennai being another option, and Singapore. After reviewing the bids and inspecting all potential host cities for their venues, amenities, event programs and opportunities, the country was chosen. Now let's talk about the UEFA Cup. Now, Portugal will take on Slovenia in the UEFA Euro 2024 round of 16 with a place in the quarterfinals up for grabs. Portugal were beaten by Georgia in their last outing, and Roberto Martinez will demand a strong reaction from his players when they lock horns with Slovenia on Monday. Portugal has a quality squad and they should be pushing for the trophy this summer. It will be interesting to see if they can improve on their last outing and produce a match-winning performance in this crucial match. Meanwhile, Slovenia will be the underdogs heading into this contest, but Portugal cannot afford to be complacent. And that's all we have in this edition of DD India News Hour. Do let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. You can scan the QR code right there on the screen to download the app now. I will be back with more news and as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Gautam Roy from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India News Hour.